we got this far. So we got the tank pulled up, airbox out, just seat, 2 bolts at the front. Make sure you take these washers off with them because they're pretty fat. They sometimes like to stick on there. With the airbox, you want to make sure you don't drop anything down your valves there. There's a whole bunch of stuff attached to the airbox. You look over here. Main and most importantly, these attached to your throttle bodies. And we got a switch over here, a couple vents that were attached, and right here where this little sensor doohickey was plugged in. So you could unplug this vacuum line and this plug, but it's just a Phillips screwdriver, so that seems easier. But this right here is what we're looking to get into. I don't think I'm going to have to take the tank off, which would be great because I don't feel like dealing with leaking gas lines. But we got our coils. I'll probably check the spark plugs while I'm in here. But I might just remove all this. That'll probably have to come off, which is our cam position sensor, I believe, right here. So that's where we're at right now. I might stick some rags over these just so I don't accidentally drop anything down in there, because that would suck. Alright, this is where we're at. We got the valves closed off here. The throttle bodies. And we have the valve cover off. We put some rags in each of the holes and made sure that they wouldn't flake down in there. We got some nice shop rags, and we got our timing chain over here, and I'm not sure how I'm gonna find top dead center exactly yet because it's hard to see the marks on there or something. I might have to get a flashlight, and from there we just gotta find top dead center, which is, you know, different markings for different bikes. We got the inspection cover off this side, and for me that'll be a 14 on there. So we can stick that on there, make sure it's going the right direction, and you can see up here, you can actually watch the, oh god, I got a small ratchet here, but you can see it moving. I'll have to put a bigger ratchet on there, get a little bit finer control. But top dead center's next. There was just there was 6 bolts on there. We got a nice clean setup sitting over here. So we have our valve cover, which technically should be sitting more like this, but I don't have enough room on my workbench with the airbox there. But from right to left and the front of the motorcycle, we have our inspection cover, all 6 of our bolts for the valve cover, and then I lined up my spark plug so I can check to see which each cylinder is doing. And so you can see this one at one point backed out, so it's got lots of carbon all the way up to the top there. But since we're doing our valve cover adjustment, we'll probably get a new set, throw those in there too. So I'll get back to you guys. Alright, so I got this little diagram here that I wrote out so I can write out all my shim measurements. So we got our first set of measurements, and then from here, how we did that is we got this to our alignment. So on mine there's an arrow here, and on the inside there's a small score mark, and then a little at the very far edge, a little bit of paint marker to show you exactly where top dead center is. And then you can confirm that by going to the other side and looking at the notches and the camshaft. So right now you have a notch right here, which you can kind of see, not really. And then the other notch there, which is facing directly upwards. You can see there's actually a hole right here on the frame. You can look straight through that hole there and see the intake camshaft and see that's pointing straight up. But I went through and I basically started with the biggest one because I wanted to see, and then I went down to somewhere around the middle, and that's how I got a couple of these. We're at the very bottom. So they probably don't need to be changed, but they should be. They're still technically in spec. And then over here, our intake's looking a lot better. As far as our ranges, it's almost perfect. Now you gotta rotate our crankshaft 360. Make sure you're only going in the direction of the engine. I actually pulled up the whole entire manual there that I've been working off of, but you don't need to do that if you're watching this. Alright, I got the rest of my numbers. Wrote down my dates so I'd have a log of it later. And as you can see, a couple of them are pretty close to the highs and lows of the tolerances, but if I don't have to take out my camshafts, I won't. So So yeah, I put the valve cover back on. I'm just going to call it good because I don't feel like taking out the camshafts. You'll have to take out the camshafts for this one because it uses shims. It's not adjustable. And I didn't have to take anything else out. I moved the wiring harness over there. Probably not the best for the wires, but good enough. You just gotta be careful of that wiring harness right there, and then push it into this cowl plastic a little bit and kind of tuck it down in, but obviously just nice and gentle. Watch out for these vacuum lines, and then this side just plops right in after you get that side situated with the basically this sensor, and this wiring harness is the tightest point to get it back in, and then push on this plastic a little bit. It's not going to do anything. So that way you don't have to take out the radiator or all that. So now I just got to put the valve cover bolts back in, torque them to spec, and then reassemble my vacuum lines over here that tee off. And I'll bring you back when I get that all on. I'm not sure if I'm going to clean my filter or replace my filter yet, my air filter. But this is where I'm at right now. And don't forget to pull your rags out and put your spark plugs back in before you put your airbox on. I decided to clean all my spark plugs instead of replacing them, because they didn't look too bad, and I can always get them later, and taking out the airbox isn't such a big deal. So I got my spark plug gapping tool, wrote down my tolerance there. I'm just going to go through. I kept them in the same order and clean them up with the wire brush there. And we'll toss them back in and then be all set, basically. You just got to throw the airbox back in, make sure you plumb that all back together, all those connections. Got everything all buttoned up. Time for a sound test. One of those spark plugs was way out, so that might have been my main issue. So if you just check your spark plugs, you might not have to take your valve cover off. So